When most people think of the American West, they imagine deserts, cowboys, or golden plains. But hidden beyond the Cascade Range, along the edge of the Pacific, lies a state shaped by fire, ice, and time itself, Oregon. This isn't just wilderness. It's a living canvas of volcanic peaks, moss-draped rainforests, collapsed calderas, and ancient fossil beds. In one direction, waves crash into basalt cliffs. In another, lava flows sleep beneath a forest floor. It's a place where legends of lost mines still lure treasure hunters, where underground caves stretch for miles, and where landscapes change color with the passing sun. Here, nature doesn't just surround you, it transforms you. Join us as we journey through the rarely told, the nearly forgotten, and the breathtakingly preserved. This is not the Oregon you think you know. This is Era Trails, and these are Oregon's wonders. In the heart of the Cascade Mountains, a body of water sits so impossibly blue it feels like a secret the Earth has been keeping. This is Crater Lake, the deepest lake in the United States, and one of the clearest on Earth. But what you see today isn't a traditional lake. It's the aftermath of a cataclysm. Nearly 8,000 years ago, Mount Mazama, a towering volcano over 12,000 feet high, erupted in an explosion so violent it collapsed in on itself. The resulting caldera slowly filled with rain and snowmelt, untouched by rivers or streams, creating a pure, sealed mirror of the sky. Scientists say the lake is over 1,900 feet deep, but its impact runs deeper. Native Klamath people have long told stories of a battle between the sky god and the god of the underworld, an ancient conflict that tore open the earth and left this sacred basin behind. Even today, Crater Lake is considered a place of spiritual testing and transformation. At the surface, it's calm and serene. But below, volcanic activity still simmers. Wizard Island, a cinder cone near the lake's western shore, is a remnant of renewed eruption, proof that this story isn't over. In winter, the lake becomes even more surreal, surrounded by walls of snow and silence. And in summer, reflections on the water are so vivid they feel more real than the world above. Crater Lake reminds us that even destruction can create beauty, that sometimes a place born of fire becomes a mirror for the sky and for ourselves. As we journey north from the caldera of Crater Lake, Oregon reshapes itself once more. Lava plains give way to towering basalt cliffs, split by one of the mightiest rivers in North America. This is the Columbia River Gorge, a 4,000-foot deep canyon carved by Ice Age floods, shaped by fire, and finished by water. Stretching over 80 miles, the Gorge is a natural boundary between Oregon and Washington, but it's also a corridor of wonders, each waterfall, cliff, and cave a chapter in Earth's geologic story. Here, basalt flows from ancient volcanoes were stacked layer upon layer, then ripped open by cataclysmic floods at the end of the last ice age. The result is a scar of beauty, where mist and rock collide in endless variations. Its most famous jewel is Multnomah Falls, dropping in 2 elegant tiers for a total of 620 feet. Fed by snowmelt and underground springs, it's Oregon's tallest and most iconic waterfall. A stone footbridge crosses the lower cascade, offering one of the most photographed views in the state. But hidden deeper in the gorge are lesser-known marvels. Oneonta Gorge, once requiring a wade through waist-deep water and a scramble over fallen logs, opens into a narrow, moss-draped chasm where the walls seem to breathe. Nearby, La Tourelle Falls drops cleanly from a hanging cliff, framed by bright yellow lichen clinging to columnar basalt. These aren't just waterfalls, they're living sculptures of erosion and resilience. Trails twist through old-growth fir, over wooden bridges, and past ferns older than Oregon's statehood. Native tribes once followed these paths as trade routes and spiritual journeys, long before roads cut through the stone. In the Columbia Gorge, water is both artist and storyteller, constantly carving, refreshing, and reminding us that landscapes are not fixed, but forever becoming. Traveling eastward into Oregon's high desert, the landscape begins to change. Trees give way to sagebrush, and the ground itself begins to glow. This is the realm of the Painted Hills, where the Earth's past is not hidden in rock, but revealed in vibrant layers. Each color tells a story. Reds and golds signal ancient tropical climates rich with vegetation. Black stripes mark volcanic ash. Grays and yellows hint at shifting river deltas and long-vanished lakes. These are the fossilized echoes of a world that existed over 35 million years ago. This part of Oregon was once a subtropical rainforest, teeming with early horses, rhinos, crocodiles, and palm trees. Over time, volcanic eruptions buried the region in ash, preserving it like a time capsule beneath shifting sediment. Today, erosion uncovers those layers bit by bit, creating hills so vividly striped they appear painted by hand. But this isn't art. It's science you can walk through. Trails like the Painted Cove Boardwalk let you step across time, with every footfall moving millions of years. Nearby, the John Day fossil beds expand this wonder even further, holding one of the richest fossil records of the Cenozoic era in the world. Researchers continue to unearth ancient species here, redrawing the map of North America's ancient ecosystems. There's something quiet here, too, a sacred kind of silence. No waterfalls or cities, just wind, color, and time laid bare. The painted hills remind us that landscapes aren't always built, they're revealed. And when we look at them closely enough, we don't just see the past. We see how fragile and how miraculous our present really is. On Oregon's western edge, the land doesn't end. It battles the sea. The Oregon coast stretches for over 360 miles, untamed and uninterrupted. Here, every wave carves stories into stone, and every tide reveals ancient secrets. Unlike other coasts, Oregon's is entirely public, open to all by law. But its real magic lies in the wildness that remains. Towering sea stacks rise from the surf like sentinels. Forests grow to the ocean's edge. And scattered along the shore are places where Earth still shows its rawest face. At Thor's Well, the sea appears to collapse into itself. A natural sinkhole formed in ancient lava rock, it erupts and drains with every wave like a cosmic lung. Nearby, the spouting horn shoots water skyward through blowholes as tides force air through underground tunnels. Just up the coast, Devil's Punch Bowl offers a glimpse into geologic violence, an eroded sea cave that churns and roars like a cauldron during storms. Its name is no exaggeration. But the Oregon coast isn't all fury. In its tide pools, like those at Cape Perpetua or Hug Point, you'll find starfish, sea anemones, and ancient kelp forests clinging to volcanic rock. These tiny ecosystems have survived for millions of years, adapting to crashing waves and shifting climate. Lighthouses like Yucuna Head and Cape Meares watch silently over this coast, each with its own tales of shipwrecks, storms, and survival. Beneath them, gray whales migrate by the thousands each spring and fall, following routes older than humanity. The Oregon coast is where the continent exhales, where forest, ocean, and sky meet in constant dialogue. And in that meeting, we find both power and peace. Rising from the sagebrush plains of central Oregon, Smith Rock feels like it belongs in another world or another era. Sheer walls of volcanic tuff shoot skyward like ancient spires, glowing red and gold beneath the high desert sun. Some call it the birthplace of American sport climbing. Others call it a geological cathedral. Formed nearly 30 million years ago by a caldera eruption and reshaped by wind and the Crooked River, Smith Rock is what's left of a collapsed volcano, and it wears that history like a crown. Today, climbers from around the world come to test themselves on routes like Monkey Face, a 350-foot rock tower shaped like its name. But the wonder here isn't just in the climbing. It's in the scale, the silence, and the contrast between stone and sky. Below, golden eagles glide on thermal updrafts while river otters slip through the waters of the Crooked River. The desert is alive here, quiet, but watching. For the Northern Paiute and other indigenous peoples, this land was sacred, a place of vision quests, stories, and seasonal crossings. Even now, sunrise in the canyon feels ceremonial. Shadows stretch long across the basalt, and the stone seems to breathe. Smith Rock reminds us that the Earth's scars can become its most beautiful features, and that what once exploded in violence now stands in stillness, towering above everything we thought we knew. Beneath Oregon's forests and high deserts lies a world few ever see. Formed by ancient lava flows and cooled into tunnels, domes, and crystal chambers, this is Oregon's subterranean world, where fire once roared, and now silence reigns. The most iconic entrance into this realm is Lava River Cave, just south of Bend. It's Oregon's longest lava tube, over a mile long, formed around 80,000 years ago by molten basalt that carved its own path underground. Today, visitors descend into total darkness, walking where fire once flowed. The walls are smooth, rippled, and eerily silent. Ice can linger here even in summer. And deep inside, light disappears completely, reminding us how thin the boundary is between surface life and the ancient forces beneath it. To the west, Oregon Caves National Monument offers a different underground story. Here, rainwater has slowly dissolved marble over millions of years, creating a labyrinth of caverns, tight corridors, and gleaming calcite formations. These caves were sacred to indigenous peoples long before miners stumbled upon them in the 1870s. Today, scientists study rare microbial life here, organisms adapted to total darkness and chemical scarcity, hinting at the kind of life we might one day find on other planets. Whether carved by lava or rain, Oregon's underground landscapes challenge our sense of place. They remind us that what lies beneath can shape what rises above, and that even the darkest spaces hold stories of creation, resilience, and time beyond imagining. It rises like a dream out of the forested horizon, white-capped, symmetrical, and still very much alive. This is Mount Hood, Oregon's highest peak and one of the most visually commanding volcanoes in the Cascade Range. At 11,240 feet, Mount Hood is not only a landmark, it's a lifeline. Its glaciers feed rivers that stretch across the state. Its forests are home to ancient hemlocks, elk herds, and hidden alpine meadows. And its slopes have drawn travelers, climbers, and storytellers for generations. Geologically, Hood is a stratovolcano, formed from layered eruptions over hundreds of thousands of years. It is considered potentially active, with its last major eruption around 200 years ago. Steam vents still hiss near its summit, a quiet warning from the earth below. The mountain is central to the creation stories of indigenous peoples like the Multnomah, who called it Y-East. They tell of a great warrior turned to stone, forever watching the land he once loved. is a reminder that even in myth, the mountain looms large. Surrounding Hood is a region of wonders in its own right. The Timberline Trail, which circles the peak through glacial valleys and volcanic plateaus. Trillium Lake, reflecting the summit in near-perfect stillness. And Timberline Lodge, a Depression-era masterpiece hand-built in the 1930s and later featured in cinema history. Here, snow can fall in July, and sunrise on the mountain feels less like morning and more like awakening something ancient. Mount Hood doesn't just dominate the landscape, it defines it. A compass point, a timekeeper, and a constant reminder that Oregon was forged by fire, sculpted by ice, and still writes its story in stone. Scattered across the dry hills and pine forests of eastern Oregon are the remains of lives once lived in full color, now faded into rust, timber, and silence. These are Oregon's ghost towns, relics of a gold rush that flared fast and vanished even faster. In the late 1800s, miners swarmed to the region in search of fortune, leaving behind towns like Shaniko, Hardman, and Golden. For a brief moment, they had schools, saloons, even opera houses. But when the veins ran dry, the people left, and the desert took over. One of the most haunting is Sumter, nestled in the Blue Mountains. Here, an enormous gold dredge still sits abandoned in a pond, once tearing up riverbeds to extract the riches beneath. Its rusted gears are now silent, but its presence is unforgettable. In Whitney, collapsed cabins and splintered fences lean in the direction the wind always blows. In Antelope, buildings stand mostly intact, but eerily empty, like a stage waiting for characters who will never return. Yet, there's beauty in the abandonment. Wildflowers grow where roads once bustled. Birds nest in beams that used to hold roofs. And every creaking floorboard, every tilted sign, feels like a whisper from history. These ghost towns are more than ruins, they're reminders that ambition can reshape landscapes, that time always reclaims, and that even in decay, there is story. In southern Oregon, where wetlands stretch between volcanic ridges and sagebrush plains, the sky itself becomes a migration route. This is the Klamath Basin, a vital intersection on the Pacific Flyway and one of the greatest bird corridors in North America. Twice a year, millions of birds pass through these shallow lakes and marshes. Sandhill cranes, snow geese, bald eagles, pelicans, ibises. They arrive in great flocks, following ancestral routes etched into instinct. This basin is not just a rest stop, it's a cradle. Here, birds nest, feed, and refuel. And in winter, it hosts the largest concentration of bald eagles in the lower 48. But this haven wasn't always protected. Decades of farming, damming, and water rights conflict reshaped the land. And even now, the balance between agriculture and conservation hangs by a thread. Yet still, the birds come. Drive through the Lower Klamath National Wildlife Refuge, and you'll see wetlands so densely populated they appear to shimmer. Bring binoculars, and you might spot the mating dance of the cranes or a golden eagle soaring over the reeds. To the Klamath tribes, these lands were sacred long before birders arrived. They hunted, fished, and honored the cycles of life that played out in these waters. That reverence remains today in both indigenous stewardship and ecological science. The Klamath Basin is a place of movement, memory, and return. A reminder that some journeys are older than maps, and some wonders are not built of stone, but of flight. Deep in the Oregon woods near Gold Hill lies a mystery that science still can't crack. At the Oregon Vortex, balls roll uphill, brooms stand on their own, and people appear to change height depending on where they stand. Known as the House of Mystery, this slanted cabin has puzzled visitors for nearly a century. Some say it's a magnetic anomaly, others call it an optical illusion, or even a rift in space-time. Whatever it is, it challenges our understanding of gravity and perception. Whether it's science or something stranger, the Oregon Vortex is proof that not all of Earth's mysteries have been solved. In southeastern Oregon, far from highways and city lights, the landscape opens up into extremes: ice and fire, silence and space. Here lies Steens Mountain, a single fault-block mountain rising nearly a mile above the desert floor, and at its feet, the shimmering salt flat of the Alvord Desert. Together, they form one of the most dramatic contrasts in the American West. Steens is no ordinary mountain range. It's one mountain, 50 miles long, fractured by ancient glaciers and shaped by uplift. Drive the loop road along its ridgeline, and you'll pass alpine lakes, snowfields, and canyons that plunge thousands of feet. From the summit, the world seems endless. Look east, and you'll see the white crust of the Alvord Desert stretching out like the surface of another planet. Once the bed of an ancient lake, it is now a dry playa, cracked, flat, and otherworldly. The temperature here can swing by 50 degrees in a day. Rain evaporates before it hits the ground. It is one of the driest places in Oregon. Yet people come to soak in the Alvord hot springs, to watch meteor showers from the cracked earth, or to simply feel what it's like to stand in the middle of nothing and everything. This region is sacred to the Northern Paiute, whose stories and presence stretch back millennia. And to modern travelers, it remains a pilgrimage, one made not for spectacle but for silence. Together, Steens and the Alvord are a living paradox: high alpine and low desert, icy cliffs and sun-baked salt. Two opposites, one wonder, and a reminder that even in the quietest places, the earth speaks. We're closing in on Oregon's fertile heart, where geology, climate, and human hands have created something delicate, enduring, and deeply rooted. Between the Coast Range and the Cascades lies a gentle sweep of hills and soil that holds a different kind of power. This is the Willamette Valley, a place where ancient floods laid down rich sediments, cool Pacific breezes slip through vine-covered slopes, and the earth speaks through wine. Once the floor of a massive glacial lake, the valley's unique soil and climate now support over 700 wineries, producing some of the most acclaimed Pinot Noir in the world. But this isn't just a farming region. It's a living blend of geology, craftsmanship, and culture. Each vineyard tells a different story. Volcanic soils in one field, marine sediment in the next. Winemakers walk their land like artists, tasting sunlight, shaping acidity, and listening to what each vintage wants to become. The region is still young in global wine terms, but its roots run deep. From indigenous Kalapuya stewardship of the land to pioneering growers in the 1960s, the valley has always been about harmony between people, land, and time. Sip slowly here, and you'll taste more than grape. You'll taste rain, stone, patience, and a place that knows how to wait. Oregon is not just a place. It's a passage through time, carved in fire, cooled in rain, and painted by silence. It's a land where rivers disappear underground, mountains rise from ash, and the sea hammers stone into art. We've walked beneath volcanoes and into caverns of frozen fire. We've stood on desert salt flats where the sky feels too big for the earth. We've watched water fall like memory and tasted soil turn to wine. Every wonder unique, and yet all part of a single rhythm. This is a state that refuses to be just one thing. Coastal and alpine, wild and cultivated, mysterious and familiar, Oregon holds contrasts not as conflict, but as connection. And in each landscape, whether it's a glacial peak, a whispering forest, or a quiet ghost town, there's a deeper invitation to look closer, to listen longer, to remember that the earth is still becoming. This has been Era Trails, and these were the wonders of Oregon.